Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention please as we go through the following safety instructions.
In the event that there is a loss of cabin pressure, oxygen mask will drop from the overhead. Place the mask over your nose and mouth. Breathe normally as oxygen is flowing even if the mask is not inflated. Be sure to adjust your own mask before helping others.
And I can tell this nigga's already nervous. Oh my God. At least you got the smile going on for yourself. That's a good thing. That is a good thing, sir. All right, y'all. So hello, everyone. Welcome to the Soliloquy Podcast, where we step out and talk about sexuality. This is your host, Vernon T. Scott, also known as Slaytor Jackson, or if you found me in some risque areas, Sebastian's Adams. It's just however you find me. That's it is what it is. Love to see it. So on today's episode, I have a former resident assistant of mine. I was his supervisor for some time, and I'm just happy that he was able to, come on to my show and just talk about random things with me. Today's topic is about drunk sex, but I'll go into some conversation about that after Nick introduces himself. On that note, Nick, who the fuck are you?
Okay. What's going on, everybody? My name is Nick, the Quick, or whatever you want to call me. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm a recent graduate from Tennessee State University. And pretty much most of what I do now since I've graduated is work on music and work in my field.
Y'all, Nick is actually a very shy person, so it's great that he can actually speak that much. So this is going to be a very interesting episode. Oh my God. So like he said, he graduated from Tennessee State University. I don't know if I put this at the beginning of the episode or at the end of the episode. It's somewhere, but I am going to be playing a clip of his, some of the music that he has come up with. So I'm excited about that. So since we are talking about drunk sex, I do want to have that conversation about consent. As we should all know, yes means yes, no means no, and maybe is not even a question there. So whenever it does come to drunk sex, because alcohol is one of the number one, I think it is the number one, actually I know it is the number one date rape drug. So this is not, huh?
So I actually had that on my fact sheet.
I'm so done. Now he got a whole fact sheet over there. I support, but when it comes to alcohol use and sex, there is that indicator, the legal definitions of how that is not consent, but there are those individuals who do like to participate in drunk sex consensually. So I say that to say that it's kind of gray. Not everything is black and white. We have to take personal autonomy in consideration when it comes to consent. And if you are cognizant of your actions while intoxicated, this is not like falling over the table drunk. This is, I've had a few drinks and I'm feeling good. I'm inebriated in some manner and I'm horny and want to participate with my partner that I feel safe with and comfortable with engaging in that. Not, I'm just going to get you drunk so we can have sex. That's not what we're talking about. This is based in consensual drunk sex. So I just like to always have that caveat for those individuals who might want to be consent warriors. Trust me, I understand. I'm all up in rape culture, y'all. I've researched that shit. I know all about it. You don't have to teach this nigga over here. I got it. So just want to have that disclosure there for everybody. So let's go ahead and get that conversation started off. Nick, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You sure?
Yeah.
So, what's up?
Let's see. I don't know. Where you want to start?
Well, we could just talk about the controversy, because I remember when we were recording the episode, you did mention how that is very controversial. And engaging in drunk sex with somebody, because it is a controversy behind that.
Yeah. So again, like Vernon said, I'm all for consent. Definitely listen to the people that you're interacting with and make sure that you are actively receiving consent from somebody. But one of the things that I was thinking about when we were having that conversation was what you would consider a functional drunk, and how does that apply to the, I guess, measure of consent that people give when they want to have intercourse.
Well, that's a good point, because that brings up the question, like you have people who are, like you said, functional drunks who are out here driving vehicles. You have them flying planes sometimes. Well, that was like back in the day. It's a little bit more strict these days, so thank God for that. You have functioning drunks that's teaching classes. I had one when I was in high school. Anyways, you have people in multiple fields who may be a functioning drunk, well, functioning alcoholic, and most people don't really even understand or even notice that they're intoxicated during that time until they like smell it on their breath. So it's like it is possible to be drunk as shit and know exactly everything that you're doing, even though it can possibly hinder some of your performance within that process. So it's would I do it? No, because one, I know me when I drink too much. I want to go to sleep. I don't want to sleep with nobody. I don't want to fuck, but I just want to go to sleep. I want to take a nap. Like, leave me alone. Don't touch me.
I feel that, some stuff that I looked up when I was doing a little bit of research on, how does functional drunkenness play into the role of consent during sex. And I found out that about 20% of all alcoholics, young adult alcoholics, are considered highly functional drunks, which means that they can, have full-fledged conversations and operate, normal day-to-day tasks while being above, a natural level of drunkenness.
You said 20%?
Yep, 20% of young adults. So that's about 18 to 25, 28.
Wow, that's a pretty large number. I wouldn't even thought that. I wonder what those numbers look like for individuals who are like older adults. And I feel like it will be a lot less when it comes to elderly people, in the sense of like, in terms of breaking down alcohol, like with their livers, since they are a little bit older. But at the same time, we have young people who have liver diseases too. So, oh no, that's a fairly high number. So that's 1 out of 5 in a sense.
Yeah, it's a pretty large number. Most people, statistically, I don't have the numbers off top, but most people start their drinking around senior year in high school to first 6 weeks of freshman year, and usually a lot of their trauma or really bad experiences with being drunk and abuse and other severe things are within that range.
Mm-hmm. I think about, like, because the possibility of someone being sexually assaulted within that age range from 18 to 24 is already high. I believe, if I remember correctly, because the standard woman is 1 in 5, and for men is 1 in 10. But the rate for women within that age range becomes, I think, is closer to 1 in 4. And for the college campus, it's 1 in 3. So you're more likely to be in danger of sexual assault on the college campus than you were to not be in college. But I think a lot of that deals with how we see college, how it's advertised to us as a place for you to go and drink and have sex. So that opens that window of a setting a culture and expectation of what will happen, which somehow translates to a lot more sexual assaults happening on the college campus, which is very, very unfortunate and quite sickening. And even on top of that, the number of women who are sexually assaulted is extremely high in this country, because 95% of sexual assaults go unreported. So it's like, wow, that's a huge number. So 5% is what we are using to actually draft a lot of our data.
Yeah, so I had to look up some of the stuff that I was talking about. It's actually, so it's 53% of full-time college students. No, let me not say that. Yeah, you might have to cut some of this out.
Oh God.
I'm trying to, because I'm looking at it. I looked at it before this, and my brain is just going scatter right now. But pretty much what I was trying to say is, like, people that are in college are more likely to drink towards the line of AUD, alcohol use disorder, or alcohol abuse than their non-enrolled, non-college counterpart. It's about a 10% difference from what it's looking like. It's 53 for full-time college students, whereas about 44% for non-enrolled young adults 18 to 22 of age.
To pretty much abuse alcohol.
Yeah.
That's a huge number.
These
Definitely.
It's Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration.
Like that's very, like, even to think that 53% of college students, full-time college students, are abusing alcohol. Like I understand from my past as a professional in higher ed. I understand the importance of having dry campuses, but even with that, there's no real conversation with students about, okay, this is what healthy drinking looks like, this is what unhealthy drinking looks like. Yes, some colleges do it, but not too often. To have 53%.
That's wrong category.
Oh Lord.
No, for the like abuse of it is 33% for binge drinking in collegiate students, whereas 28% for non-collegiate young adults.
So what's the 53%?
That's students that have drank a decent amount within 1 month time frame of the study.
Oh, so not in approaching abusing alcohol levels, but just we drink.
Yes.
Okay, Nick, do not make me jump through. Look, read the statistics is important. Okay, it's okay. We all make mistakes. It's fine. But so it's a little bit less, which is okay, but still, that's a third of the college campus that's abusing alcohol. So it's just, there's a need to have those conversations of what is healthy drinking habits, and because we romanticize and somewhat fetishize the idea of being drunk and having sex, and also just the culture of drinking is like everywhere you go, there's a commercial about alcohol. The Holiloquy podcast focuses on the variability of sexual expression. When it comes to sexual expression, we often depend on pornography to illustrate how one must perform sexually. For those who have not learned this by now, the stuff you see in porn is not real. Pornography provides a singular perspective of sexual expression that is not often the reality we see during our own sexual encounters. The Holiloquy podcast is a conversation that takes you outside of the compressed box of what many know about sex. Some of the topics we discuss includes kinks, condom usage, status disclosure, and past sexual experiences. The Holiloquy podcast steps out on sexual norms and recognizes that the norm is not the only normal. Subscribe today and join the conversation. Is like everywhere you go, there's a commercial about alcohol. You can watch shoot, in anime, we have nothing but alcohol drinking, but you don't have too many characters that's like damn near passed out drunk. You might have that one or two, or if you're watching some random TV show, like most definitely if it's an adult facing show like How I Met Your Mother, that's the first thing that came to my mind. Their meeting places at the bar, so it's like that's the only way that you can meet with your friends is to go to the bar, have some drinks or anything like that, as though they can't just go to a regular restaurant that's not a bar. Shoot, I don't think there's any restaurants that do not have bars other than like a fast food place like McDonald's. However, if McDonald's starts selling miniature margaritas,
Look,
though, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a franchise called Mini Marts, and y'all, it's a drive-through service. Y'all motherfuckers better not steal my idea.
so,
Just don't be drinking and driving. I'm going to put the little lids on it. Thank you, pandemic, for giving me this tip.
so, so the study, the same study, and I apologize for the bad statistics, and these are actually correct this time.
It's okay.
But from some 2019 data by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration, they actually reported that more females in the age range of 18 to 22 that are college students drink more than the male counterpart.
I can see that.
It's about 53% of women and 51% of males.
So it's pretty close. See,
Yes.
I would have thought it would have been higher of a jump, mostly because most alcohol is actually advertised towards women's use. Free drinks for women, or even getting in the club free, or buy me a drink is mostly catered towards women and not really men. So it's like I would have expected that, but I'm actually very shocked that it's 51% with men and not as. But then again, college students drink, so.
Question which, and not to make it a gender war or anything like that, but which gender abuses alcohol the most? I don't have those numbers up with me, but that would be interesting to learn.
I would say, traditionally speaking, I would say those who abuse alcohol the most will more than likely be men. I don't know if that's a fact, but that's just me assuming. Just looking at American culture, like for example, when you think, I was reading Slavery's Capitalism, and they just broke down a lot of shit, and I was like, oh my god, I didn't even think about this. But how the caffeine industry was pretty much started off in slavery, where you will boost a lot of people with sugars in order for them to work more, work longer hours and whatnot. And now we have the push for coffee later on, which was also used for that same purpose. But then at the end of slavery, and you have a lot more people working, like actually working in the workforce instead of, using human capital. Well, we still use human capital. That's different. I'm not going in that, but instead of using enslaved people for the majority of the work, you have a lot more people in the workforce doing other jobs, and in order for them to stay productive, you have a boost in caffeine usage. You have let's go closer. Coffee usage, but let's go further down the history to like 2000s, or I think 1990s or whatever, where you have a lot more energy drinks put on the market and advertised to people. And here we are. We got 5-hour energies, all for, the main idea of getting out there to work, getting out there to do this. So it's like, it makes sense to me just looking at that tradition of things. And most definitely with men being the people who are traditionally supposed to be working, meaning they're a lot more stressed, meaning there's a lot more need to escape. there will be that desire to drink more in order to suppress some of those things that they're dealing with, some of their anxiety, some of their fears, some of their stresses, all of that. It just, the way my mind works, it makes sense that it will be men who will abuse alcohol the most. Most definitely, since we escape our traumas a lot through other substances. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I can agree with that. And not to say that the so from some statistics or research I looked at before, it kind of pointed that, and you can see it in the day to day, and it's usually presented on college campuses. But men are able to drink more alcohol than a woman counterpart, and not have that same level of blood alcohol content or drunkenness or preserved drunkenness. And I think that kind of plays a big role into it too, since men don't really think about a lot of the repercussions of slamming down 5-6 drinks at a time, and then going out to do something, make a mistake, whatever you want to do. Whereas they might take 1 or 2 drinks for their woman counterpart, and it kind of makes you think about where does your mind go once you're experiencing these kind of, I don't know,
like when you're super drunk and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I'd be wondering, like, I know, like, whenever I'm very intoxicated, like I said, my main concern is getting in bed and going to sleep. That's where my mind starts to travel to. Like, I guess some of that might even be a trauma response, that I automatically want to go somewhere where I feel safe. And I feel safest when I'm laying in bed. And so whenever I'm super drunk and I know that I'm losing the ability to function, my body's like, okay, get me to my nearest comfort place, get me to my bed, let me go to sleep this off, whatever the case may be. And probably for some other people, they feel the safest in the arms of somebody else. I don't know. I really don't know. Probably that's the reason why you have a lot of people who do those drunk calls, because that was somebody that they felt safe with, and they're super drunk. And if that's where their mind is going, then let me invite that person over for them to comfort me and be here and be that safety net, not necessarily to have sex. Or so I don't know. There's that should be a research study. Let's get you drunk as fuck, and I want you to tell me exactly what's going through your head and what you're thinking about, and see what the results come up as. Um, just to switch the topic a little bit, have you had any personal experiences with drunk sex?
Yeah, I didn't start drinking until maybe my sophomore year in college, which is late for a lot of people. Like, never took a sip of anything before then. And I can say that, over the course of my college years, I did participate in a few drunken or, smoking, high, whatever you want to call it, sex. And I don't know. It's one of those things you have to kind of take on a case by case. Have some really good experiences with it, and you can also have some really bad experiences with it. Like an example would be that I remember once I got, drunk with a partner or whatever, went to a bar and went home and decided, hey, we should have sex pretty much. And I didn't realize I drunk so much. And I'll say halfway through the session, I started feeling really nauseous and queasy, and, I wasn't feeling good. And I actually had to say, we got to stop. It's not something that people, not people, it's not something I've ever heard another man, come out and say that they've had to kind of hold back on being drunk from sex, or kind of say no to somebody because they wasn't feeling their best at that time. handle alcohol or drugs or anything else. It makes it a little bit more personal to me. Uh, and I can't even express what I thought that my partner at the time was thinking of me from having to show a little bit of self-reservedness.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say it's great that you did know in that moment that you were not capable of fulfilling the need of the full sexual experience and just stopping it. Like, there's many different scenarios of what could have happened if you would have continued. There would have been a possibility of you ruining that entire relationship by puking on them, and
Yeah.
like that's I know it's a huge joke around that, but literally you could have been that person, and she could have been that person who's like, oh my god, he like threw up on me, and that could have been a very negative experience. Or there could have been a point where you just fell asleep, and that could have been something of a mental impact on that partner of was I'm not providing them the what they needed in the sexual experience. Did y'all ever talk about it afterwards?
No, it's kind of one of those things. I just kind of let bygones be bygones. Because in my experience, especially in college, I used to be that person, especially for a lot of the younger college women. Just make sure they're okay if they get too drunk in a party, or if I see somebody walking around campus, I make sure that they get somewhere safely. And one of the most common things that I've noticed about people when they've reached that point of incoherent drunkenness is that and I didn't want that they puke or throw up. It's for me, in my experience, it's always been the sign. If somebody throws up, usually they don't remember what happened to them, or remember much of what's going on at that time the next day. And I didn't want to be a participator in that. When it came to my experience, I didn't want someone to say, you blacked out and you did XYZ to me, and I can't remember myself doing XYZ. So I felt more safe stopping and just leaving it alone at that.
Understandable. Well, that's good that you definitely was that person to make sure other people got home safely too, because there's not too many people. We're in a very, very toxic culture within the U.S. right now, where it's better to film people at their lowest rather than filming them at their highest. And there's so many people who will film their friends so drunk, throwing up, barely can walk, and think that this is funny. And you're just like, are you really their friend? Like, why are you not helping them? Why are you recording this? Like, I get you're out having a good time while they're partying, while they're functioning, while they're shaking that ass like a monkey, whatever the case may be. While they're doing that, film that, have that memory, so that, oh girl, or oh dude, this was you last night. You was fucking this shit up, but unfortunately, you got super drunk and you started to throw up, and we had to get you out of there. We made sure you was okay. I remember back in college holding my homegirl's hair while she had to throw up. Like, it was no cameras. There was no way I was going to let anybody film her like that, because why? I'm not going to ruin her potential reputation, her future, or anything like that, just so I can have some shits and giggles online. It is not that important. What's important is make sure she gets home safely, that she's okay. Make sure everything that is related to her having a positive experience that night and going forward is secured. Why mess that up just trying to film them at their lowest?
Yeah, I've had a similar experience to that, and it actually involves potential drunk sex. It was a couple of years ago. I went to a party with my cousin. It was his girlfriend's birthday at the time, or ex-girlfriend, and they had a friend, come to this hotel. And first thing that they did for her when she came in the room, this second girl, is shots. That's a pretty normal thing for a lot of people. More adult people, they come in, take a shot at the door, and get the party started. Well, after we're playing this drunk Uno game, and I don't know these people. I only know two, three people out of like 8 or 10. And all of a sudden, I noticed this girl. She's like acting weird, and so I go check on her. I don't know her or anything. She starts throwing up, and so I'm trying to figure out like what's going on. And I hear somebody say, she's never had alcohol before. Why would you give alcohol, 8, 10 shots to somebody that has never touched alcohol before?
Right.
And one of the things that I noticed about the people that she was around was that, although I'm somebody she never met, I'm the only person willing to make sure she's okay, make sure that she's care of, not throwing up on herself, not doing anything that she will regret later on. And that was a reality check for me about how people kind of look at others being drunk, with the recording and posting it online. I didn't want that to happen to this person. And, after she kind of sobered up a little bit, she, thanked me, whatever. But I could tell that, she was getting the vibe of me and trying to, do a little bit more. But, from our conversation and understanding consent and understanding, right from wrong and other people's perception of coherentness, I kind of shut it down. It's not something that you should do. Definitely, if somebody isn't, if they can say I'm listening, I'm aware of everything, but if you can physically see or physically know that it's not going to go well, don't do it.
Right. And young lady, if you just so happen to stumble upon the Holiloquy podcast, get you some better friends. Get you some friends that actually gonna care about you, because the ones that you're around did not give not one shit. They were more focused on the party than they were focusing about you. I would never. I have plenty of friends who, one thing, if I'm making a drink, I'm going to warn everybody, I made this drink. It's going to be strong. You need to drink this shit slow. You need to drink this shit slow. Because I know I'm heavy-handed and I like to hide the taste of liquor. Therefore, the shit is going to be strong and you're not going to taste the shit. But on top of that, I'm not going to be asking someone who's never had alcohol before in their life to be partaking in shots on shots on shots. One, that drunk Uno game is the devil. I played it before. Oh my God. Like I think we only did like 2 fucking hands and I was already gone. That game is horrible. I love it though. That's not for everybody. That is not a game for everybody. Now, Nick, I have a question. Who the hell taught you so much about consent? I respect that person. I love that person.
It's just growing up around a lot of women. Like I would say probably 80% of my family is women, and on both sides. And, I always think to treat others the same way I would want to be treated, or how I would want my mother, sister, grandma, anybody to be treated. Because, the statistics are so high, like you mentioned earlier about, sexual assault, sexual abuse to women. That's not something that I hold lightly.
Right. Any young man, masculine presenting person, gender non-conforming person who may have experienced most of their life as a cisgendered male, ask your female friends, our feminine presenting people, how often or have they ever experienced some form of sexual assault or harassment? More than likely, they're going to say yes. The numbers are extremely high. And it's extremely unreported. And yes, it does happen with men. It happens quite frequently with men, and that's another conversation in itself. Like the amount of sexual assault in men is highly unreported. Is it as high of a number as women? Not necessarily, but it's still a high number. And we don't talk about either of those enough in the light that it deserves, other than trying to diminish the fact that it happens with women and feminine presenting people at an astronomical rate. So, just a random question before we go into a little never have I ever. Nick, between drunk sex and having sex while high, which one would you say was better?
It kind of depends on, that's a good question. It kind of depends on what you're looking for. I kind of associate either or with a particular outcome. Like for me, if I smoke before having sex or smoke with the intention of having sex, it's usually to feel a little bit more rooted and sensitive. And I kind of want to take my time and actually focus. Usually smoking, it gives you a little bit heightened senses, and you start to hear and not necessarily see, but hear. You feel it on a spiritual level sometimes.
Okay.
Whereas if I drink, it's usually to feel a little bit more numb during intercourse. A lot of men, they actually, take a shot or two so they don't, release quick.
Mm.
That if you had a problem, or sometimes I kind of want to participate in like a more aggressive type of sex or more frenzy type of sex, and ultimately feel a little bit less nervous.
Mm.
Sometimes alcohol gives you a little bit more confidence, especially when you're meeting new people. This is why the talk about drunk sex is important, and consent. But
Mm.
when you're people, it helps you feel a little bit less nervous of the expectations of others. That's why it's called liquid courage.
Mm. So, okay, two things. First thing, I love how you said smoking with the intent of having sex. That's doing things with intent. That's the same way like drinking with the intent of having sex. That's where that consent thing becomes very important, because that is our intentions in that moment. Because even whenever I have my workshops with students, well, in the past, I will let them know, hey, if your girl guy out here getting super drunk, because when it comes to people of a certain age, I will say 18 to like 23ish, who are not trying to understand their limits or anything like that, they're just drinking to drink. I tell them, I really focus on the legal side of things and not the personal autonomy side, because when you don't know your own limits and you don't know how you act while under like two drinks or anything like that, you can easily go overboard, then you fall at risk of making so many more mistakes in your life, that some of these things that you won't be able to take back, some that might even lead you to being in jail for a sexual assault, especially. So I tell them, look, if your partner is going out here on the town at 8 and they text you, ooh, tonight I'm going to have sex with you, oh my God, and they out here drinking, and they come back and it's like 12, 1 a.m., whatever the case may be, and they trying to have sex with you, I tell them, no, do not have sex with that beast who walked through that door. Because one, if you do, it might not be consensual. Just because they gave that prior authorization does not mean that is who they are in that moment. That is a beast. Don't talk to them. Put them in bed, let them go to sleep. We don't fuck with that beast. We just don't. But when you're right, like when you're older and you know your limits and you can actually have those conversations with somebody, then and have those intentional moments with, all right, let's go ahead and get high and have sex. Let's go ahead and drink these shots and have sex. It's a completely different feel. It's a completely different environment, because you're doing this in a level of comfort that you might not have been doing when you were a lot younger, because you don't know your body, you don't know who you are, you don't know that drunk side of you. I forgot where I was going with that.
Well, to answer your question, I do think that I would prefer high sex. Only, and this is one of my experiences with it. I remember my first time doing that, and I was like, man, I'm out of breath. Obviously because you smoked and whatever, but once it got towards the end and getting ready for the climax orgasm, whatever, and I just remember this sense of, I don't know, like warmth, like a big hug, like I don't even know. It just kind of engulfed me. And it was such a stronger feeling than I've ever felt while one regular sex, or what's the vanilla, I guess that's the word, and drunk sex. Like it was a very rooted, very strong feeling, and I think that I prefer that. It's a little bit more fulfilling, and it's kind of a little bit more to your senses as well. So I think I prefer that.
All righty, I fucks with it. Well, Nick, so now is that time to transition on over to some bullshit, as I say. I'm going to start off. I might do all three with you. Never have I ever, would you rather, and a sex question. You cool with doing all three?
Yeah, I'm cool.
All right, we shall see. All right. Never have I ever gone more than a year between sexual encounters.
Damn, that's going a year between sexual encounters. I would say I have. I have. I would say, freshman year or whatever of college, I had a really bad heartbreak. So that's kind of most of the fuel for that. But it taught me a lot about myself and kind of how I view sex with people. I definitely think of it as a very spiritual thing, and I'm not willing to share my spirit with a lot of people. So I'm okay with taking a year, or more if it needs to be. Drive you a little crazy, but it's okay. Okay.
I fucks with that. I know I have. So I didn't lose my virginity until I was like age 19. Well, consensually until I was age 19. And when I did, I was like a huge hoe. And like my body count went from 0 to like 100. I'm joking, it went to like 0 to 10 in like less than 8 months. And I was like a little bit worried, and I was like, hold up, I'm out here being reckless. And in doing that, I was like, okay, let me take a step back. Let me go back to who I was before I even had this thing that I just experienced that has been phenomenal and joyous and all this other shit. Let me take a step away from that so I can figure out what the fuck is going on here with me. And that turned into like 2.5 years, well, 2.5 years of just celibacy. And this is during college. So I had options. And the greatest options was a town away in Fort Valley.
Remember.
And, so I took that step back to reflect on who I am as a person and who I want to be as a sexual being, and still maintain my sexual freedom and whatnot. And that's actually what gave birth to my idea of wanting to write my book, The Essential Guide on How to Be a Hoe, is from that time of being celibate and using that time to reflect on who I am as a sexual person. And I definitely recommend, it doesn't have to be a year, but removing yourself from sex in such a way that you are focusing on who you are, grieving over past relationships if you need to, or identifying if you are operating through your sexuality through a place of hurt or a place of pleasure. And those two things are very aligned, most definitely how we're raised in this country, where pleasure and pain can easily be the same thing. And that's not even talking like BDSM. I'm talking about when you literally shove down your own pain and suppress that through a form of pleasure through like alcohol or drugs. Oh shit. So that is very prominent in this country. So it's those things. So that's why I personally recommend doing that, so you can understand, like you said, by taking that year off, you were able to work through some things, get over that past relationship, find out about what you like in life, things like that.
Oh yeah.
So this is mostly because you smirked that. I feel like this question is going to be very interesting because how you smirked that when I said BDSM. So
No.
this is the would you rather. All right, so would you rather try something new and kinky in bed or have typical but very passionate sex?
I try something new and kinky. Look, I'm a man of many different flavors. I like a little bit of everything.
I fucks with it.
Hey,
Look.
yeah.
Oh wait, you cut off a little bit. What'd you say?
I said you can't always keep it vanilla. Sometimes people need a little bit more than that. You give the same energy every time. I don't want that.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Like vanilla is great, but sometimes I want a little bit strawberry up in that bitch. You can throw some. We can make this to a full ass fucking Sunday. Like, let's go.
I'm to the fan or something.
Right. Like, see, that's I respect that, Nick. I respect that wholeheartedly. Now this is the sex question. All right. No, ew. I already pulled it, so I have to ask it, but sorry, not judging you, Nick. I'm sorry. It's still gonna be ill from your side too. I'm quite sure. So oh, ew. All right. If we went on an erotic adventure together, where would we go? What three things would we need to bring, and what would we wear?
Erotic adventure. Well, what's an example of that?
See, for me, if you and I were to go to an erotic adventure, one, I'm fine with paying, but we're gonna be in separate locations because I am not trying to see you, Nick. But that can be going to the Bahamas. That can be going to another tropical island, let's say Jamaica, or like hedonism, or there's this this conference called Exotica. That's something. There's this thing in New York for sex workers that happen every single year. That could be an event. There's a lot of things. You could create it however you want to create it. But I know for me, if what I would choose to wear would be something very loose. Probably other than loose, probably something that's like not necessarily mesh, but something silky. I do want something silky. Lacy and flowy, damn near naked. That's pretty much how I'll be spending that trip. Which is why, Nick, I can't have you around me, man. Now, if we just randomly meet up at some kind of play party, it's good to see you, fam. Have a good time. Enjoy yourself. But yeah.
Not thinking about it. Yeah. I mean, because you named some places and it kind of reminded me of some stuff I looked up in the past. I want to go to the Maldives. I think because you got a little bit more freedom out there. I like the ocean view and be in the water. Well, just it don't even have to be the Maldives specifically. Just somewhere where it's like really beachy, blue waters. You go play in the water, whatever. What would I wear? Honestly, I'm gonna keep it honest. I would just probably wear some, I don't know, maybe some, I'm a sweatpants type of person. You know that. You see me. I sweatpants, t-shirt with my do-rag on.
Not the fucking do-rag.
That's just Memphis. It is what it is. What was the third part of it?
Oh no, that was it. Like, what would you wear and where would we go?
Oh, yeah. I would probably go somewhere with some water because you got a lot more people you get access to. If you want to participate in some, orgy-related fun or, include a whole lot of different people in or whatever you want to do, hey, it's going to be people on the islands that's willing to do that.
Right. Well, so that means fans, follow me on OnlyFans. Nick and I are going to the Maldives for this special Make sure you buy tickets for that show.
So we're gonna make sure to get a whole lot of selfies.
Right. Right. See, These damn cars, I fucks with them. So on that note, any last messages that you have for the audience, Nick?
Of course. When you have sex with people, especially when you're drunk, always make sure you're looking for consent, making sure they're coherent. Make sure, if you need to, ask a couple questions during the time. Are you okay? How you feeling? Are you good with continuing this? And don't assume implied consent. Even if you're in a relationship, there's no such thing as implied consent.
Facts. That's the message, y'all. That is the fucking message. So thank y'all so much for joining us on this episode on the Soliloquy podcast, where we step out and talk about sex. Thank you, Nick, for joining me in this conversation. I definitely appreciate you. Everyone else, make sure y'all like, subscribe. What else? Comment, follow us on YouTube, all this other great shit. Do all the good stuff. I love having conversations with you all. And who knows, if you're a fan, there's a possibility that you might actually be able to do a couple episodes on air. So that's a thing. But again, thank y'all so much for being a part of the Soliloquy podcast family. And I hope y'all have a wonderful day. You're loved and you're blessed. Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please, as we go through the following safety instructions.
In the event that there is a loss of cabin pressure, oxygen mask will drop from the overhead. Place the mask over your nose and mouth. Breathe normally as oxygen is flowing even if the mask is not infused. Be sure to adjust your own mask before helping others.
Thank you for listening to the Soliloquy podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. You can subscribe to the podcast through your favorite podcasting app and find us on the web at www.soliloquy.com. That's www.heauxliloquy.com. Share the podcast with your friends and join the conversation.